Over to you.
Yeah. Thank you, Toastmaster Arpita, and yeah, welcome to the special section of Vanguard Toastmaster meeting called Direct Dil Se. This is the second episode wherein we have a living legend with us. He is a global brand director, oral care at Unilever. He has done his schooling from Don Bosco, Park Circus, Kolkata. BE honors in electronics and instrumentation from BITS Pilani. Post graduation in marketing and strategy from IIM Bangalore. He specializes in brand management, communication development, and project management. He has been the global hand washing ambassador. So if you want to wash your hands off the matter, you know whom to connect. Uh, Not only that, he's a fantastic person, a very warm hearted, a very humble human being. So, ladies and gentlemen, with a huge round of applause, let's welcome Madhurya Banerjee. Madhurya,
Thank you, Shambit. Thank you so much for the welcome.
welcome to the show, guys.
Uh,
Please unmute yourself and let's just applaud. I mean, we are 10 of us, but then yeah, we can make it. And Madhurya, you can applaud for yourself because you deserve it. Yeah, okay. Thank you, guys. You can go back to mute. Yeah, right. So, Madhurya, right? We know each other right, from I think our schooling days. But let me tell you that uh, being your friend, or in this days they call it colleague. I don't know, the term friends is slowly disappearing. But as a student, you were that ideal boy. You know, every mother a part of her childhood was painful just because of you. Because every mother wanted their son to be like you. So all we had to hear is, why can't you become like Madhurya? He scores all the marks, he gets all the accolades, and then we couldn't even hate you. There was no one in the entire batch who hated you. So how do you attain this symbiosis between moms loving you, and even though we wanted to hate you, we couldn't hate you. You were just such a wonderful friend. How did you do it, attaining symbiosis even at this young age?
First of all, Shambit and the entire Toastmasters Clubs, thanks for having me. I don't think I have already done my first counter of the day, so I've counted my first one. But I think the most important thing is that thank you for having me. It's really nice to speak to someone, and thanks for waking up at 8 a.m. on a Sunday morning. That's important as well for me that you are here at this really early hour. It's so I'm humbled by that. One of the major things I just wanted to make a point saying that since this session is being recorded, anything that I say is a personal opinion, does not reflect any way with any organization or company I'm associated with. So I always have to make that point whenever a session is being recorded. So I just wanted to make that. Coming back to your question, Shambit, honestly, I did not know that Kakimas, as we call them, said anything like that at home. So while in school, I think we were pretty guarded with each other. We had a different kind of childhood where we didn't have the distractions. All we had were our friends and books. That was pretty much it. We grew up without cell phones. We grew up without the distractions kids of today have. So I think it was important for all of us to have that bond. And I think when I see all the WhatsApp groups I'm part of, the school groups continues to be a special place because that's where you can become the people you were in the 90s when we were in school. So I had no idea, honestly. I had no idea till I grew up later, and a lot of friends told me during the lockdown that, hey, you know what? My mom used to think like this. So first of all, I think I really felt nice that that any of my aunts would think like that about me in that way. But the second point was that it also made me feel a bit upset because I realized as well that it was not what my friends probably wanted to hear. Uh, I'm lucky I did not know about it when I was growing up because I don't know how I would have taken it, how my friends would have taken it, and I think more than how I managed it, I think it is a huge compliment to the school and the people who my friends were, that they kept on being friends with me. So I honestly had nothing to do with it. It was essentially the fact that my friends, even if what Shombit says, that they heard from their parents that why don't you be like Madhurjo, Um, I'm glad that they remained my friends. But the truth be told, I wanted to be 20 other kids in my school who were way cooler, who had way better sense of dressing, who had way better sense of playing a musical instrument, which I can't do still. So I think all of us grow up in school trying to be something we are not, and we just manage because there's this show. I think a lot of American sitcoms have been spoken about today. So there was this show called The Wonder Years, and I really loved it. And the best thing about that show was that it is, at the end of the day, it is about having those solid friends who take care of you. So sorry, a long answer to your first question itself, Shomit, but the reality is that I think I managed it because I had an amazing set of people I went to school with who decided that it really did not matter where their parents were telling at home, because when you came to school, you were all wearing the same uniform, you were all fearing the same teachers, and you were all wondering when the lunch break would happen so that we could just go down and play. So I guess that's it.
Yeah, yeah, very true. We grew up with each other. So on the same note, if we can be with each other by just turning on our videos, everybody, so that we get to see each other at this point of time, and let technology be a friend and not a distraction at this point of time. Thank you. Right, we grew up with each other, and it's very humble of you. And if you guys are just thinking that he has only read books, that's totally false. He was a part of a basketball team for the Yellow House, and he was in the reserves. But the first time he was in the team won. So yeah, kudos to you, Madhujo. What was the background discussion you had? You get some pro tips on basketball or something like that, or yeah.
No, I think I was just tall. So even though I was really, really fat, I think the height just helped, because the only thing you needed to do is get the basket, and I could shoot. So at least that I could do, even if I could not run, for God's sake.
Yeah.
But I could just take the basket, shoot it, shoot the hoops, and that was it. So I think yes, I was in the reserves, and luckily that year, I guess if I remember rightly, the inter-school competition came very close. So Red House, which was the better house in sports in that year at least, they had all the school team players, and all of them were grounded because they could not be playing for inter-class basketball. So
Right,
yes,
yeah,
the
great, great,
inter-school
right.
competition we won.
You took that one thing away from me. I used to tell my mom, at least I do well in sports, and then she comes and says, "Well, you guys didn't win." So yeah, good, but well done, well done. Congratulations on you win. Although I couldn't congratulate you, I didn't congratulate you at that point of time. But very early, I think, in your class, in your career in school, you were there, the class monitor. Now, for those who were not very aware, in our school system, we had a head student. So this is the guy who would maintain discipline in the class when the teachers were not there. In between periods, would do all the work that the teacher would ask, help the teacher. So this is a monitor, and he would monitor us. So he would monitor 53 other students. So 54 was the average number, right? In each section, if I'm, yeah, 54.
That's right.
So he would monitor 53 other students. He had a team just like our tag team. There was vice monitor and captains and vice captains. But then he was essentially the head guy. So but does it somewhere teach you early leadership skills, and it helped you in your life, this being the class monitor and managing 53 notorious guys like me? Does it
Oh
give you
yes,
some inbuilt management skills?
yes. So obviously I did not realize it then, but you know, what we have at workplace today is pretty much it. So nobody, all of us work, for example, in a company, all of us work for a company, right? uh, we don't like, it's not my company, people don't work for me, so we are all equal partners in that way. So the school is pretty much like that. It is all equal students, and then someone is tasked with just maintaining discipline or decorum or whatever you call it. Now the biggest learning I think of that time was that you need to have two things. You need to, number one, have empathy, and number two, you need to have uh, a sense of what is right or what is just, and that might be completely wrong, like your sense of justness or fairness, but you need to have a sense of that. And I think whatever I learned in school happens even today, because I remember there were, and people take to leadership in different ways, right? So there are different schools of leadership. There were schools of class monitors who would go and will take a ruler, bang it on the table, at sometimes might hit the ruler on someone's knuckles. And I never wanted to do that because it really didn't feel like the right thing to do. And today I'm thankful that I didn't do that, for the simple reason that I don't think I can get my team to work in a better fashion by hitting them on the knuckles. It just doesn't work in a professional setup. So you really need to learn how to get the team going, how to get your the people around you to work towards a common goal, and you learn it very early. You learn it as you go in school, and then yes, you probably pick some of that and try to apply it to your work as well.
So in a sense, you're thankful that you had notorious guys like me in the class.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, absolutely.
So in a way, ladies and gentlemen, he said that I'm notorious. So yeah, once again, personal opinion, but yeah, it's all in good humor. But then this thing, we had in our school forum, and I believe this is also very common in today's world, at least for the student community. They share notes, right? Something that I noted down is something that someone else would want. Maybe that person is absent, maybe that person. And this notes, the topper's note is something everybody wants, and not everybody gets. At least even in our childhood, we were not getting the notes. There was no internet, and so we had to take the copies, maybe find a photocopier machine, get it xerox, to use the term xerox more than photocopies. Notes were not that easily available, and there you were, your notes were there everywhere with everybody. We all had the same notes, yet you scored all the marks in the 90s and the hundreds, and we were barely passing. So what do you think is that difference between the class and the mass? You were the class apart, so what is it that set you apart so early in your career from the rest of the fellows?
So look, I think there are two parts to the question. I think the first one is that why were there no shared, and I think the simplest thing is essentially something my mom told me when I was very young. uh, there is a Bengali poem, and the quote goes, "Jotoi koribe dan toto jabe bere," which essentially means knowledge is something. The more you give, it just increases. So I never had a qualm about sharing my notes, because at the end of the day, it's available information, right? So in today's world, honestly, except perhaps the big data hoarded by some of the retail giants, knowledge is free, knowledge is available. So it's something which is accessible to all. And I think, that completely goes to my mom. In terms of the difference, I honestly don't know the answer to that. All I can say is what I did and where I think it helped me. I think all of our parents and whoever is on the call, we have come from a generation where our parents sacrificed a lot, like a lot. And I think my parents did the same. So I didn't know it till like 4 5 years back, that my dad was an active movie buff when he was in college. But when my sister and I were growing up, even though cable TV came into India, we never got cable, and my dad never went to a movie. uh, I think every parent tries to ensure that they try to do the best for their kids. I think whatever decision my parents took just worked for me, because I get easily distracted, and which is probably why I'm in the job that I am, because I love these distractions. I love doing multiple things at one point of time. I love creativity. But at that point of time growing up, if I had the distractions that were around, uh, I probably would have not done it. So it again goes back to the two focus points and areas, which were A, that I love studying. So that was given. I love to go through it. I love to understand what it means. And secondly, I think there were no distractions pulling me away. So I think those helped. As I said, books and studies were the only two things which I really liked doing at that point of time. Um, and it impacted other things. So, for example, I was at least in the early years a good quizzer, but slowly and slowly, as I could not keep up with the amount of information that was coming out of the cable news networks, slowly there were people who were better than me because they had access to that information. So I had access to the newspapers only. So it changes perspectives. You make a few calls. You become you choose for your children at times. I think what choices my parents had worked out for me, and that helped me. So yes, I think that's the only reason why it probably worked that way.
Yeah, very, very true. I think being an 80s kid, we sometimes tend to ignore the choices our parents made just for us, the amount of sacrifices they put. Uh, this is really very, very much significant in the way we have been brought up. Right. You quoted a Bengali poem, and I still remember our Bengali teacher in her last days in school, and she was sharing her most memorable moment. And this appeared in a school magazine, and I know for sure because my brother, who's 7 years younger to me, was in school at that time. And when I read the school magazine, she said that one of her most memorable moments in the entire school life is a student who got 90 in Bengali in class 12 came to the school and touched her feet. And see, in those days, getting 19 Bengali was a really, uh, once in a blue moon, and you have achieved that. In fact, ladies and gentlemen, let me go on the record and say he was the only one student, I think, in a few years in our school who had got 90 plus in all the subjects in ISC. So it's a tremendous thing, but then there you were, but then somewhere you felt that you didn't make it quite to the IIT. Do you consider it as a failure, or how do you respond to that, that everyone is expecting you were there on the pedestal all the time? So one part of it is, how does it feel being on the pedestal? Does it make you pressurized, or on the pedestal and then you don't deliver as per others expectation? How do you respond to that?
So it is it. I mean, I honestly did not realize anything like that when I was in the junior or the middle school, but it gets to you once you're in 11 and 12. You start really you slowly are moving towards being an adult, right? You have moved into your teens. So then it is about focusing on maintaining that. Sometimes you just like it, you just like your grades, you just like something, whatever it might not necessarily be grades, but something that you believe you're good at, you want to hold on to it. And I think I was no different. I wanted to hold on to the grades I had. I think when IIT did not happen, it was surprising. Like I was surprised, but thankfully uh, I wasn't sad for whatever reasons, because uh, it taught me two things. One, that I have to be a lot more careful, because in our year was, I think, the first or the second year when IIT introduced uh, the pre-screening, and I remember, and it was a multiple choice question, and I distinctly remember I decided that I will fill it up in the last 5 minutes, and then I went and tried to solve as many as I can. And by the time I filled it up, I realized that I came back, and when I checked the answers, I realized that there had been a step miss. So, for instead of starting for number one, I probably started from number two, because some of the ones were missed in between, and I didn't know where to do. Which taught me that when I was writing my cat, I kept 5 minutes to cross check whether I have circled the right answers. So everything teaches you something. Thankfully, I did not feel bad. I think in school it was difficult, because everyone came and said, "Oh, I'm so sorry." That's probably the last thing you want to hear, because yeah, it has happened. It has happened. I was lucky. BITS Pilani did not have an entrance that point of time. BITS Pilani still for the next 4 years, it would still recruit students based on their board's marks. So yes, it worked out. And I think everything happens for a reason, and I'm true believer of that. Um, I think Bits Pilani changed me forever. Uh, Whatever foundation Don Bosco built, Pilani made a completely different person out of me. And that's where I think it all ended up. Because I am a true Bollywood buff like my dad, and the famous Shah Rukh Khan dialogue in Om Shanti Om, which is picture abhi baki hai mere dost. It's absolutely true. If if there's something that's gonna be happen, it's gonna happen. You just have to wait for it. I think that's why. Yes. So to answer your question, I personally, for some strange reason, I did not feel bad. I just took it as saying that, okay, I have made a stupid, silly mistake. It happens. Let's move on with it. Whether I would have gotten into IIT in the finals, I don't know. Maybe not. But at least that gave me an excuse to say that, okay, I have made a mistake. I'll probably not repeat this mistake again. And I thankfully did not.
Good. That's a very important learning lesson. And as you said, picture abhi baki hai dost. Picture to continue. The picture will go on with the interview. But meanwhile, if any of the audience has any questions, you can ping in the chat to me, and we will ask the question to Madhujo. So, yeah, there you go. Uh, so Madhuja, moving ahead in your life, then you went to Best Pilani, then IIM Bangalore. So when did you just find that zing? Okay, fine. I will. This is what I will do for the rest of my life. I will ask people to wash their hands. But yeah, when when did you find that zing? You find your mojo. This is what I want to do. For example, I
So,
want to talk for the rest of my life. Some five
so
years
I
back.
think I think I was in a complete state of flux for around 6 years after school. I did not know what I wanted to do, and honestly, I see students today; they pretty much are in the same place. Slowly and slowly, I realized what I did not want to do. So, for example, I did not want to do electronics. It was just not my cup of tea. I really wanted to do neural networks. So again, I focused on every bit of energy, knowledge, etc. I had on neural networks. A very close friend of mine, now in Bangalore, Abhishek and I, we went and published an IEEE paper on neural networks while I was getting really poor grades in microelectronics. So it was strange, but that's how it is. Because Pilani, I think one of the biggest things that Pilani allowed us to do was uh, focus on what you really wanted to do without going through the rote on everything else. And I consider the independence that Pilani gave us a huge difference to the way we look at our lives and our careers and everything else. So there was this 4 or 5 years where we really did not know what we wanted. We knew what we did not want, and then while I was in my final year and I was trying to see what best to be done with the neural network studies that I was doing. I still remember my paper. My paper was about uh, getting power stations and making intelligent power stations so that the load can be distributed easily. Uh, but yeah, it's like basic stuff compared to the technology that is there right now. But this is 2004, so you can imagine how early that was. And the issue was that every single piece of work on artificial intelligence and neural networks was happening outside India. I was very clear I don't want to be outside India. Um, that was something that I have been very clear throughout my life. Like I don't want to be outside India for the long term. So that's the reason why I said, okay, fine. So what else can I do? I really like studying. I did not want to go through the rigor of studying electronics once again. I would not be happy. So then I said, okay, fine. So let me try to do the other thing which I like, which someone told me is about more creative, is about being a marketer. And to be a marketer, you needed to get into one of the B schools. So I said, okay, fine. Why don't I do that? Because one thing that I did, which I could not do in school, in Pilani, I was part of, at the worst stage of my life, 13 clubs. I still don't know how I managed that. I did not sleep. I survived on coffee and pizzas. That's one of the reasons why I am the size I am today. But yeah, and when you're part of 13 clubs and giving each of them the importance, and something takes the back seat, and that's definitely microelectronics. I still have nightmares about that subject. So yeah, that happened, and after that we went to yeah, I went to IIM Bangalore, and in both Pilani and Bangalore, Shobit, you said something about being on the pedestal and all. I mean, all of us, I think, when we go into a college, we realize that the world is a much bigger place than you imagined it to be, and yes, you are just one of the guys there. So it's a hugely humbling experience, both Pilani and I am Bangalore, that you're just one of the guys who made it here. And then first year went like a craze. People were unfortunately uh, you know at each other's throats, trying to get the best grades. Completely different from what I was exposed to either at school or in Pilani. It was a cutthroat, competitive environment. But I think, and then I went into do a consulting summers, and I hated it. I hated the fact that you are talking, you are not doing anything real, you are just trying to make. Um, okay, I should not say it, and I'm sorry if there are any consultants here, but you're trying to really deck up nice stuff to say to clients, and it just does not make sense to me. So I again knew that I did not want to do consulting after consulting summers. And then finally, thankfully, and by the way, Shomit, thank you so much for telling that Mrs. Gupta said that. She never told me, though I met her later, but it really feels nice to hear that. Yeah, so once again, I think a professor saved me. His name is Professor Ramesh Kumar. He is the best marketing professor I have ever known, and I have met marketing professors around the world, including David Aker. Um, and I think Professor Kumar just rekindled the love of studies for me. And I just doubled down and gobbled up marketing. And I realized that that's where I want to be. So it's very clear that I wanted to be a marketer. And then thankfully, very thankfully, Unilever recruited me. And they kept on giving me the opportunities I needed, and I have never changed jobs. I have been in the same company for more than 13 years now, and I love what I do. So yes, probably I'm not changing the world. I'm not finding a cure for COVID or cancer, but yes, I'm doing something that I love.
Okay, right. No, here's the thing. You were a member of 13 clubs. You can break that unlucky 13 by being a member of our club. That would make you 14. And secondly, we need a lot of marketing expertise. So, yeah. Uh, Anything you feel that in this entire period from your school days till the point wherein you got a job, you could have done anything differently?
Yes, I think. I mean,
Manoj, I think you went off camera, or is
did
it
I?
abandoned? Yeah,
Sorry, is it back on?
you are on. Yes.
Yes. Just hold on. I think my power cord went off. I'll just switch it on.
Yeah.
So I don't think I will. Yeah. Could I have done things differently? Of course. Like, I think every step of the journey, you can make a change. But more importantly than anything else, the fact remains that you have made those choices, right? So I would not change anything. Honestly, I don't think there is any need to change anything that we have been through. Uh, I would not change it for anything because it has been an amazing journey, an amazing story. But every time you think back and you do think that, would something have happened a little differently if things were different? And the answer is yes, things could have happened differently. But that's the choice we have made, and that's the choice we have to live with. So there were lots of things I wish I could have done differently, but I don't think I would do it. I probably would make the same choices if it was given to me right now. Like, I will still not go to consulting. I'll still continue to do marketing. Yes, the only thing I wish I could have done, like for example, Shomita, when you said that, you know, these small things which you don't know, like my school friends felt bad that their moms compared them. I had no idea till around um, uh, uh, till around 2020 when people opened up to me. I definitely would have done something about it. I don't know what a school student could have done about it, but I would like to have done something about it. I do hope that during my days, when I was initial rash and brash brand manager, I would have been nicer to some of the people who came and presented ideas, because if I didn't like an idea, I'm known by to everyone who works with me as to be a very, very direct feedback giver. Uh, I don't mince my words. So, which is the reason why I think after people have worked with me, they know that if I'm telling them it's good, it's good. If they know that I'm telling it's not good, it's not good. At least in my viewpoint. But I do wish that I had the tact at some point of time to know that a creative process is something. Everyone who's presenting something is someone's baby. Maybe I could have been nicer. So yes, I think if it's possible, I would just have been nicer to a lot more people than I have been, perhaps.
No, you were nice. You were nice. There is no doubt about it. And we don't feel bad that our moms compare. I mean, we wish we listened to our moms at that point of time. We could reach somewhere near you, being a global director, because we have no clue of what you do day in and day out. So, if you can please tell, what do you do day in and day out as a global brand director? What do you do?
So
You
I'm in charge of innovation. So I handle a brand called Signal, which is known by different names in different markets. In India, you know it as Pepsodent. In France and a lot part of the Middle East, you know it as Signal. In some markets, it's known as PS, Mentodent. So it's a family of brands. Uh, my role is to find out the next innovation, find out what works for the toothpaste. uh, the way I tell students is essentially, when Apple says that they're designing a new phone, it sounds wow, so exciting and so cool. But we pretty much do this exact same thing on a toothpaste. So if you think that all the FMCG products that you have in your house are just coming out of a factory with no one thinking anything about it, be rest assured that there are people like me who have spent their lives thinking about exactly what needs to go into your toothpaste to make sure that you don't suffer from cavities. So yes, like if you want, for example, in currently right now, I need to know how our Indian oral care needs different from an Indonesian oral care needs versus a French oral care needs. How many times Indians brush typically a day, which is definitely not two. And then therefore what do we do in order to make sure that we try to save Indians from cavities. And I think uh, which is the reason why, like, is your problem cavity, then please use Pepsodent German Check. If your problem is bleeding gums, please use Pepsodent Gum Care. If your problem is that you have stains because of coffee or cigarettes on your teeth, please use Pepsodent Whitening. So every single piece of product that we put out on the market, we create it with absolute love. It's like our babies which go out into the market. So that's our day job. We exist in order to figure out what a consumer needs for the product category that we are part of. So if you are part of, let's say, oral care, that's my current job. That's what I need to think about. Till last year, I was thinking about how to make people wash their hands more often. Uh, I wish I had done a better job. So maybe the spread of COVID in India would have been slower. But thankfully, the team which is now like my old team, which is now working on it, they are doing a fantastic job. India is washing more hands by all the data points that we are seeing. So that's our job. So we are innovators, we are creators. So that's one part of the job where we create something mammoth, we create something different. It can end up being a toothpaste in your tube that you don't think twice about, but the science and the technology and the efforts that go behind is enormous. And then the second part of the role, which I used to do amazing, like I had amazing fun doing, was about then telling you about it. Because it's one thing to make a great product, but if no one is going to buy that product, then what's the use of making that product? So that's what the second part of the job is to go and tell consumers why should they buy you over that big red toothpaste that they have been buying for all these years. And how do you make sure that they continue to buy Pepsodent and not someone else? So yes, that's my day. I can, by the way, talk about my job all day without giving any chance to the speakers, but I think we will run out of time if I start talking about what I do in the entire. I can talk about it for ages. So I'll pause there, and I think yes, back to you.
Pro tip, no charge. What Pepsodent can come out is with a romantic smile. You brush your teeth with Pepsodent, you get that romantic smile, and then the
Why
girl
don't
gets
you use
interested.
Close Up? That's also an Unilever brand, and that
Yeah,
promises to bring you close to each other.
closer to each other, but we are
Yes.
maintaining social distancing this day. So
Yes, but
yeah,
when you maintain social distancing, look at the latest Close Up ad. That's when you need to be closer together, when you are
I,
far apart.
I am studying these days, Madhurjo, following your
Thank you,
footsteps.
Arpita.
Yeah. So, Madhurjo, in your entire professional life, where's your assessment on the importance of communication? Because as Toastmasters, we deal with people speaking in people wanting to be better communicators, people wanting to be better leaders. So, where do you exactly place a platform like this, which gives you a feel-safe opportunity to communicate?
I think it's extremely critical. Like, for example, it might sound very nice when I say, "Oh, I am a creator. I'm creating this entire project, entire product, which will take care of your the oral issues." But multiple points. For example, internally, there is a brand manager who is who has the current brand team. Let's say for Lifebuoy, they're fighting for the same budget at the corporate level, and therefore, if their pitch is better than mine, their pitch gets their ideas get the funding. So communication, I think, is there are two parts of communication, right? One, once what you're telling the consumers to buy your product. That's our day job. If we don't do it well, if we don't figure out what consumers need to hear, what consumers need to be told, then there is no role for us. So marketing will then be dead. Um, and secondly, internally as well, unless until you are convincing your boss to tell a good story, that your story is better than someone else's, unless you convince your team that they should work for your product and not, let's say, the other brand, Lifebuoy, it is up to you. So every day in our lives, it's like a huge negotiation, huge amount of communication that we need to do just to keep the ball rolling. So I think it is absolutely critical. There is no doubt about it.
Right. On that note, one final question from me is your message to aspiring and would-be leaders, would-be and should-be leaders of tomorrow. What is the message you want to give?
So look, there's only one leadership. Like, there are too many leadership principles. You have to find your own path. The What I can tell you is the only one principle that I follow. There is nothing else in my life when it comes to who- what leadership means to me. There is something called the golden rule. And the golden rule says, do unto others what you want others to do unto you. And that's it. And as long as you are honest to yourself that you're following that, I think, it just works out. I have followed that to the T. Like, whenever I have had to let go of people, whenever I had to get people in, the biggest thing is that, you should always do unto others what you want others to do unto you. That works because there is a concept in leadership called service leadership, and that is what probably is going to be the uh, future of leadership as we know it, as more and more Gen Z comes into the workforce. They really don't care. They are a completely different generation than people who are on this call. Millennials look fuddy-duddy when it comes to Gen Z, and the only thing that works with them is to be able to talk in a language that is universal, that you talk in a language that appeals to them. And for that, you need to do what you want them to do to you. So I think that's my only advice. Like, it has been honestly one of the most like, my marketing principles have changed over the years, but this one leadership principle has not changed ever.
Okay, right. Fantastic, Madhurja. So with that, some rapid fire questions. But if any audience has any questions, right away, you have this. This is the moment. Uh, Global Brand Director, Unilever, Oral Care. So use your oral power to shoot your questions. Anyone will give you a moment. Anyone? If not, I will. Right. I think people are questionless because you have been so clear. Right. On that note, Madhu, just some 3 or 4 quick fire questions, and we end up. So, first up, favorite food. This is the rapid
Uh,
fire.
Favorite food,
Yeah.
aloo posto and rice.
Okay. Favorite favorite mm, place.
Uh, Library, if you want a very politically correct answer. Uh, uh, if you want a location, it has to be Kodaikanal. If it has to be a city, it has to be Paris.
Okay, I thought Paris Library or library in Kodaikanal. Favorite subject from school.
Um, from school, maths and English literature.
Okay. Favorite teacher from school. Oh, okay. Favorite teacher.
No, I'm not going to say that because you were there.
Okay. Your favorite interviewer.
Oh, you
Oh, thank you.
and Larry King and Larry
Okay.
King.
Okay, thanks. And just on a note, ladies and gentlemen, in the entire interview process, you realize that Madhurya belong to Yellow House. He's wearing yellow, and I belong to Red House. I am wearing red. So it's been fantastic talking with you, Madhurya. Thank you so much for making your time. He's speaking, ladies and gentlemen. Please remember, he's speaking all the way from Singapore. So, Madhurya, next time you are in Kolkata, do we will. I hope we will get some time to meet, and
Yes,
hopefully you come to
over
Kolkata.
cello kebabs at Peter Cat.
Yeah, sure. We will do that. But till then, thank you. And whenever possible, if you find time, it will be great to have you on our show. But
Thank you
a
so much.
huge round of applause. We're just going to take 5 seconds. If anyone has any one final question, any question for Madhujo. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, thank you, Madhujo.
Thank
Ladies
you.
and gentlemen, let's give it up for Madhujo Banerjee.
Take care, guys. Have a great